Good evening, degenerates. Welcome to the Die Hard MMA podcast. I'm your host, as always. It's your boy Clint, coming to you here on the mic, rocking the blue Die Hard stimulus check t-shirt. Now, I don't know if we're fully deserving of the stimulus check because it was only, a little win, but a win is a win, and we hit a plus 650 knockout prop on a big underdog that everyone told me I was crazy for rocking. So you know what? I'm gonna rock the blue t-shirt. We're gonna go ahead and wear the blue t-shirt tonight. How is everybody doing? Grateful Dude, Rex Lee, Dog MMA, Raw Torque, Ryan Grant looking for t-shirt and a turtleneck. Pocket QB Lamar Jackson. What's up? That's a name I know from the low bag chat. Not necessarily used to seeing you in the MMA streets. I like it. Welcome to the show. Beach Money, what's up? Everybody pouring in here. Some of you may be a little flustered. The show is an hour earlier for some of you than normal. I understand. I apologize. Daylight savings time, my ass is in Arizona, and even though everybody else moves their clocks, we don't, but that still means I'm an hour different from everybody, so it messes me up, even though I'm not necessarily affected by it. So here we go. Hey, we are talking UFC Vegas 42, and I'm going to just dive straight on into this bad boy. I've got a guest I'm very excited to bring to you tonight. He's been lighting up the MMA scene all around the Twitter sphere, on the streams, on everything. We're bringing you none other than the GOAT, Diakiese himself. Diakiese, my friend, how you doing tonight?
Good, Clint. Thanks for having me on the show. Very excited to be here. It's like being on the Letterman show,
Well, I'm glad that I am held in such high regard as Letterman himself, Diakiese. Thank you for coming on, and I appreciate you wearing the tactile neck for the show tonight. Everyone must have the turtleneck.
Yeah, I was born with it, so I don't have much choice, but it is what it is, yes.
I love it. All right. So I just, real quick recap, Diakiese. How did you do on UFC 268? I know a lot of people got absolutely slaughtered. What did your night end up looking like?
I got starched on that night, and these things happen, even the best of the best fail, and it's a great lesson. But it's very important, to be humble. And the key learning for me was that it's strange. We had winning nights after night, week after week, and people were cheering. But at the time when I had my, toughest loss, which was last week, I got more cheers and more support for the community like I've never seen before. It's tremendous. It's almost feel like I can go back to back losing the nights, but the community is there for them and for me, and I'm here for the community. So this is the best place to be, and I'm very thankful for everybody's support.
I'm so happy to hear that, Diakiese. Not that you lost, obviously, but I feel like over the last 2 years or so, myself and I know several other handicappers that are big in the space, we've put a huge emphasis on working together, and I think we've been able to see that over the last couple of years. The community has turned from this pissing contest where everybody has to, unzip their pants and measure every single night to see who's doing better than who. It's turned into something where we can all kind of cross-collaborate. Everybody's having a good time. We pat each other on the back when we do well. We pick each other up when we have our losses. So that's great to hear that you had that, because more often than not, if people are used to you winning and you take an L, you tend to get attacked. So I'm glad the community took care of you this over the weekend.
Yeah, no, I feel bulletproof. I feel like a Teflon Don. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I felt untouchable before that, to be honest with you, but now I feel so even more. And thank you for everybody in the chat and everybody in your Twitter messages for the support. Yeah, I feel great.
That's perfect, man. We're going to do our very best to bounce back this week. Like I said, I scraped and clawed my way to a plus 1.7 unit win. I absolutely destroyed the undercard to Diakiese, but going straight back to my old tried and true ways, dropped a bomb on the main card and basically reverse swept everything. I was feeling okay about Frankie Edgar by decision. I know that fight was close. It was looking like Vera might be winning, but that plus 250 number, I was hoping to get to the cards. Him getting knocked out in the third round did not go well. Weili Zhang split decision. That one was a massive swing for me and bigger than most people know. I actually had several degenerate parlays that all anchored on Weili Zhang. And for the very first time in my life, Diakiese, I can actually say I know what it feels like to lose a shot at $10,000, because no joke, I had several parlays that all came down to the same spot. And if Zhang had won, I'd have been looking at a 10K payday on Saturday. So even though I got out of it alive, I feel like I lost.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Things like that happen. I always say, it's the process of a result. And the people who I work with and talk with, it's important to know that the result does not define how good the bet is, how valuable is the bet is. It's the process that you put in place and follows that matters. And if you do it thoroughly, it doesn't depend how you did in one particular card. It's the more like where you land in the midterm and long term, and that's what matters. And if you don't understand that, then maybe betting is not for you. Yeah, I thought in your support, I thought Whaley won that fight. And I'm gonna say something maybe I thought it was close. I thought she won first 3 rounds, and I might say something a little bit controversial, but people in the chat might disagree with me. But let me know. I thought Colby won that fight too.
I was on Colby. I had the plus 250, and I thought it was competitive. I thought it was close. Now, everyone can roast me all they want. It was the wife's birthday weekend to Tajik. I had a little too much fireball towards the main card after how hot I got started on the undercard. So I cannot trust my reads on how those 2 fights played out because I was definitely not all there. But I did think that Wiley had done enough to win the first 3 rounds, and I thought you could make an argument for Colby. That one I'm not gonna plant my flag on. I kind of thought it was maybe more likely 3-2 to Usman, but even then, again, if it's 2-2 going into 5, I will take the plus 250 on the underdog shot pretty much every time.
Oh, absolutely! It was a great bet. It was a good bet. And I'm the guy who said that Usman is gonna take it by decision out here. Going out and saying that I think that Colby won. So yeah, I think it was a great bet. So it is what it is.
It is what it is, man. Let's dust it off and let's get straight on into this week's card. We are doing UFC Vegas 42, and kicking off the evening, we got a great card. It's a little bit of a dumpster dive, and I know people love when we go dumpster diving here. We'll try to find you some solid spots to put your money, and we start off hot. Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Da Un Jung. That doesn't sound right. Let me scroll down here. I think I might have the... No, it looks like they shuffled the order. That does appear to be the first fight of the night. And Da Un Jung Tajik is somebody who I've had a very strained relationship with. I am not a believer in Da Un Jung. I know that he is somebody who's had a decent amount of success. He's on a decent little win streak. He beat up William Knight in his last fight. But realistically, when you kind of pull back and take a look at it, he beat William Knight with a single trip takedown that William Knight had no response for whatsoever, and then essentially wet blanketed him the rest of that fight. I don't care what the scorecards say. He lost to my boy Sam Alvey. That was a very clear loss, in my opinion, not a draw. And then his wins come over Mike Rodriguez and Khadisi Bragimov, 2 of the biggest frauds that we have seen in the UFC in a long time. So I am not impressed whatsoever with Da Un Jung's run so far in the organization. Now, he's a fast starter. He does like to cut off the cage. He pressures forward, and he likes to attack the legs. He does have decent power. He does have decent wrestling, and he's a wet blanket from top position. So the guy can win minutes. I just don't think he's the next coming of anything special. Kennedy Nzechukwu on the flip side of this thing, a Fortis MMA prospect. He's just raw. He's taken a bit of time to get the ball rolling. We all were excited about him coming off the Contender Series, and I think now is the time when it kind of finally starts to pay off. We saw it, the high fight IQ in his last fight against Danilo Marquez, where he essentially stayed safe for 10 straight minutes before uncorking on the guy, knowing that he would be able to outlast him with cardio. My only concern with Kennedy Nzechukwu is that he's a little bit of a slow starter. He does have long arms. He hits hard. 5-inch reach advantage, 80% takedown defense, solid natural power. Like I said, the really only thing that concerns me is that slow start, because if Da Un Jung gets off early and wins that first round, it's an uphill battle this time against a guy who's not going to gas out like Danilo Marquez did. And we got about a pick'em line here at Tajik, so very, very close. Kennedy Nzechukwu opened up about a plus 115, plus 120 underdog. Actually, it looks like if you go back further, places like BetMGM actually opened up plus 185, which is ridiculous. But it's been bet all the way down to a pick'em. Even money for Kennedy, minus 120 for Da Un Jung. Tajik, what's your read on this first fight of the night?
I like the fact that Down Jung adds some, wrinkle to his game every time he steps into the octagon. And although Cadiz was not the best level of competition for him, he submitted him. And then in his last fight, I think he did well, with William Knight, taking him down and dominating him. And so what I like about it is that with every fight he's showing evolution, right? He develops, in a ways that he has not been known before. And you want to see this kind of progress in an up and comer like he is. And so I think it's a good age for him to make significant improvements fight to fight. And I think he will be doing just that. I think it's a perfect matchup for him. Also because Nzechukwu is predictable. He's like Marlon Vera less KO power, if you think about him, right? He doesn't do much in terms of the first round. He just sits out and looks at you like he's bored. And then the round 2 and 3, he might add up some striking, and it depends. So there's nothing that he offers in terms of wrestling, or grappling credentials or prowess or intent. Per se, where he tries to do something. I mean, he literally tries to box you or kickbox you, however it happens. So, but he's low volume, right? That's the problem. So, how is he gonna go up against Down Jung, who you have said presses the actions, can offer some great stand up. His boxing ability is tremendous. He can also take you down. So, just with the sheer fact that he has more ways of victory makes me lean towards him. We'll be looking at betting him straight. I like him, and I think it's a great matchup for him. Right, they're very close in rankings. There's certain he's very there's one particular area where Nzechukwu has can offer him something, and that's in the stand up. But I think with his volume, it's going to be problematic. So I'm going to pick Down Jung to win. I think he takes this one by decision. I don't know if he stops him. Nzechukwu is very hard to stop. So, but my official pick is going to be Down Jung by decision.
Okay. Now, see, this is the spot where we're going to go ahead and disagree early on the card here. Tajik, I'm going to pick Kennedy Nzechukwu to win the fight. I do think he's got the upside of the knockout here. We've seen him hit hard. We've seen Down Jung rocked and hurt in these fights before. But again, the question is that quick start. Kennedy Nzechukwu is the kind of guy that, like you mentioned before, progress. If he makes adjustments, if he's improved in this off time, I think we could see a much better version of him. But I don't think he's quite there yet. So while I'm going to say I feel like he might be able to win this fight, if he's made those improvements, I can't bet him at even money. If I could have got him at that plus 185 or even in the ballpark of, plus 150 or something like that, I absolutely would take the shot on Kennedy Nzechukwu. But at pick'ems at even money, I think it's about where it should be, and I'm okay with just passing off on this one.
No, I agree with you. And you're right, with Nzechukwu, he can offer, great opposition. Olberg threw a kitchen sink at him, right? And he still survived. Right, so I think it's important that if Down Jung doesn't, measure his power well and his stamina well, cardio well, then he might be in trouble in the second and third round.
Absolutely. But Kennedy will have to turn up much, much sooner against somebody like Down Jung. He can't take off the full first and second round and then expect to get a finish in the third. He'll really need to get started about halfway through that first round. And now that I say that, this actually might be a good one to target for live betting. If any of you have access to live betting, you should be able to see the tide on this one turn towards the end of the first round. If Kennedy is going to get involved, if Kennedy is going to look good, we should know by the end of the first. So maybe an opportunity to jump in at that point, but nothing for me pre-flop. All right, second fight of the night. What we've got here is the Bone Crusher, Marc Diakiese, finally making his glorious return, taking on Rafael Alves. And this is an absolute banger, Tajik. This fight is so fun. Marc Diakiese is a guy that I have got a soft spot for. Somebody on Twitter pointed out that it's my love for redheads once again coming into play because he dyes his hair red for every single fight week. It looks like he's moved out there to All-Stars Training Center. He's a solid striker, a great kickboxer. He's fought well and closely with some good competition. Now, he took over a year off after the Fiziev fight. We all know how high-level Fiziev is. Now, Marc Diakiese is training with none other than Khamzat Chimaev. This guy has got destructive leg kicks. He attacks that low calf. He likes to rip the body, something that I feel is high level and underestimated by a lot of people. He's got big power knees and he's crazy durable. He's never been knocked out and he's only been submitted once. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here in this spot against Rafael Alves, who apparently is making the choice to stay at 155. He fought below that earlier in his career, had that awful weight miss. Now it looks like he's sticking around. He won on Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, and he made his UFC debut against Damir Ismagulov, which talk about a rough task for your very first fight in the UFC. Rafael Alves is a round one monster, Tajik. This guy blitzes forward. He is sharp. He is fast. He is explosive, and he attacks subs early and often. He's got a tight squeeze on him. The problem is he gasses out. He's solid muscle, solid explosiveness, and he gets tired and slows down the longer the fight goes on. He's only got a 50% takedown defense. He's willing to, jump to his back and try and grab chokes and things like that. I just feel like Marc Diakiese is more well-rounded, more proven, and has fought overall the much higher level of competition. I know Damir Ismagulov is a great fighter. I respect him. I think he's awesome. But having one fight against Damir does not counterbalance everything that Marc Diakiese's done in the UFC. Tajik, I jumped on this one early. I sniped a minus 150 out there. I got 3 units to win 2 on it. My first bet of the night. Do you have a play on this one? What are you doing here?
I don't have a play on this one yet, but I do agree with you that Diakiese, is just a better fighter overall. And I just don't know. I just don't understand what Rafael Alves is going to do. The problem with Rafael Alves and betting Rafael Alves is that he's we tend to put too much credence or weight behind his win of behind his loss of Ismagulov. I mean, he goes out there and knocks him down, knocks Ismagulov down.
Opening bell rocks him.
Opening bell, exactly. And we suddenly think that he's great, right? I mean, he has, he's a low volume, right, guy. He doesn't go for takedowns all that much, and Diakiese is a good has a good takedown defense. So what is he? So what is Rafael is going to do? He's way smaller. He's older. He's been stopped before. There are just so many red flags. And one known kind of red flag right now was Diakiese is that he has been away for some time, and then we just don't know how he's going to come back. But when you fought at the UFC level, it's not that you fought somewhere else, outside of the UFC in the local circuits, and you're just making your debut after years and years, in the UFC. He's not. He's always been there. He's great. You're saying, he's training with Khamzat, so that should give people confidence in betting him. So I think he should comfortably cruise to a decision. I agree with you. But Rafael has also been stopped before. So that could be an interesting play here, depending on what the odds are. But I think Diakiese by decision is the right way to predict this fight.
I honestly agree with the assessment, Tajik. I think Diakiese by decision is probably the most likely outcome. You never know with these guys. They both are more than capable of finishing, so there could be a finish here in this fight. But Diakiese just kind of likes to grind his way to a win, I feel like, unless he has changed that. Taking a year off at the stage of his career where he's at, I feel like this is him kind of doubling down on his UFC career. I feel like he took that time off to change some things, shake it up, improve. And I expect we're going to see a better version of the Bone Crusher on Saturday, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to jump so quickly on backing him here. So I won't rule out a finish just like you, but I'll say Diakiese by decision. The only thing that makes me a little bit scared is that Alves is, like you mentioned, round one. He absolutely blasted Damir Ismagulov. Diakiese's been very, very durable throughout his career, but this is the kind of guy betting against always makes your palms a little sweaty because he could come out and end the fight and do it early.
I don't think it was. I think it was a good plan actually coming in against Damir, because Damir likes to get a feel for an opponent. He likes to get warmed up. He's also that first round for him. First round, Damir is very slow, but he's very methodical, right? Rather, and so what he did, what Rafael did, he did the right thing. He just went at him right away, and I think this was the only good plan for him at the time that he could do. If his cardio sustained and he did well, like in the second and the third, it was a close fight, and Damir, unfortunately, like somebody in the comment is mentioning, also he cuts a lot of weight. He's a big boy,
A lot.
So things like that can happen, and it's just the way that the fight has turned. He went in. I thought his plan was good. It's just that he's at the point where his age, he's up there in age, and then he's been stopped before. And Diakiese is just, I think, more complete fighter and is going to dominate it. And Clint, one more thing before we proceed. I see some comments that's kind of comparing me to Jorge Masvidal. I just want to say we're not related. If somebody says we are, it's a fake news. And so I just wanted to put it out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always got to disclaim the rumors. You never know. You could just be Jorge in disguise. On your weekends you fight and make millions of dollars knocking people out with flying knees. On the weekdays you chill and chat with me. All right, so we got a couple of fights here in the books. Everybody's starting to pour in, guys. About 20 minutes into the show, 127 live viewers. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. My special guest, the GOAT, Tajik, joining us and hanging out. Going to be a fun episode talking UFC Vegas 42. This is Pub Sports Radio. Do me a favor and smash that like button so everybody else in the internet world knows you enjoy the free content that's coming your way. I do need to shout out my other sponsors, GOAT Capital Sports. That's at GOAT Capital _ on Twitter. They will bet and have coverage for you on absolutely everything, and they are monsters, especially when it comes to golf, basketball, baseball. They do extremely well, very reasonable prices, as well as a money-back guarantee if you lose over the course of a week with their picks. So make sure you check them out. Let them know I sent you that way. GOAT Capital _ on Twitter. Next fight up that we want to talk about is Cortney Casey taking on Liana Jojua. And I did mention that we were dumpster diving a bit this week, folks. Here we go. This is one that I think the internet will hotly debate here in this spot, Tajik. 9-9, Cortney Casey, a 500 fighter, taking on Liana Jojua, who is 8-4, 1-2 so far in the UFC. Now, Cortney Casey is currently a -200 favorite with the +170 comeback on Liana Jojua. Cortney Casey is married to Drakkar Klose and is training out of the MMA lab here in Phoenix currently. And she actually started her MMA career more as a BJJ player. She liked to attack the submissions, do most of her work on the ground, but has significantly improved her striking over the course of her last couple of fights. In fact, her last fight where she fought JJ, she had her hurt on the feet several times. She's looking very much improved since moving out to the MMA lab. She's got a strong right hand. She knows how to use her length. She mixes in kicks well, but honestly, she gets bullied physically. That's kind of part of the problem is Casey doesn't have any wrestling, and anybody who wants to take her to the ground can almost at will, and she accepts bottom position. Because she is comfortable with her submission skills, she plays off of her back. She's willing to go down there and try and look for subs and sweeps. She's just not overly successful with them. Cortney Casey will have a 5-inch reach advantage, but she only has a 38% piss poor takedown defense. Liana Jojua is she is exactly what the UFC is looking for, Tajik. She is young, she is gorgeous, she's a finisher, she's mean, she's everything they want and they need her to succeed. The problem is she's just not quite up to snuff yet. You maybe give her a couple of years and she might get there, but she's still really putting her whole game together. She took a year off, so hopefully we see an improved version of her here, but she's very reliant on her submission game. She's a BJJ purple belt, very active and dangerous off of her back. She is the pure definition of women's armbar from guard. This is the woman who will do exactly that to you. She's got quick, explosive hips. Now on the feet, she's pretty slow. She's kind of plodding, heavy on her feet. She's got a strong 1-2, and honestly, she packs a punch. She's got a good, solid right hand. The thing is, she doesn't have very much technical skill to set up any strikes on the feet, so that's kind of the problem. I really feel like Cortney Casey has somehow found a way to start putting it together. She may have actually won her last fight and gotten hosed a little bit by the judges, kind of a 500 fighter at the UFC level. That's probably enough to beat someone like Liana Jojua. However, Liana is probably physically strong enough to simply rip Cortney Casey to the ground. And we saw what happened when Jillian Robertson got Cortney Casey on her back. It was game over. She had no problem just sitting on her chest for 15 minutes and winning a decision. So I don't know that we can trust Liana Jojua to follow that game plan, but if she does, she's going to look like a massive favorite in hindsight. I'm going to go ahead and say that Cortney Casey is deserving of being a favorite, but I will never, ever be laying -200 on someone like Cortney Casey for a UFC fight. Tajik, how do you got this one going?
With Casey, when I look at Casey, and I always try to compare fighters to somebody. And then when I look at Casey, she reminds me of Ronda Marcos, because she has this record. It's like 20 losses, 20 wins, but it doesn't speak about her quality as a fighter. And I think she's a good quality fighter. She's a solid uh, gatekeeper at this point. And so I don't think her fight record speaks about her quality. She's a quality opponent. The problem with her is that she doesn't try to fight the takedowns, right? She almost accepts the takedown position and try to navigate work off of ground. But this is not this is not the age where it's like uh, back in the days you could go and walk off your ground, try to get submissions. These arm bars, they happen, but they're just they're meme arm bars, right? And
Very rarely.
yeah, I just don't understand why she does that. Especially with her husband. He has a good wrestling pedigree. Teach
Mhm.
her, right? If you're watching this pod, please, work on her wrestling, help her. And so, but with Jojua, I think the problem is not actually her skill set. The problem with Jojua is her cardio. So if you look at her, past maybe a round and a half, I mean, she guesses out. She just doesn't have it, and you need to work on that a lot. I think skills wise, she's okay. She's half decent, but when she guesses out, I think Casey is gonna do whatever she wants. Past the initial takedown or two, I think she should be able. She should, if you're coaching her, tell her, try to get up. Okay, you get taken down, get up, and try to put a fight. And standing up, she's great. In the stand up, she's great. She's gonna pick Jojo apart, and maybe try to take downs of your own. Why not? Try to take her down. Try to take Jojo down. You have good grappling game. You have a good submission. So I'm thinking about I'm actually, given the Jojua's history, thinking about betting Casey inside the distance, which should be an interesting odd. I don't know what the odds are right now, but I think will be a good betting opportunity, because most likely the Vegas is assuming that this fight is gonna go to a decision. So
Yeah, I don't hate it, Tajik. Casey inside the distance looks like it opened up about plus 310. So you're getting a half decent number there. I do want to shout out Brady, DFS by the numbers, and my guy MMA Wheezy. They were talking about this on their show. This may be a sneaky spot to turn the women's MMA argument on its head and kind of play violence instead. Look for the under, because if Jojua is going to win this fight, it's more than likely going to be by a decision or some kind of ground and pound TKO. And I think, like you mentioned, Courtney Casey has the skill set. Her striking has improved. She rocked JJ a couple of different times. She could absolutely win this fight inside the distance herself. Under 2.5 is plus 170 to Jeek. How do you feel about that?
under 2.5 is plus 270.
Plus 170.
No, it's not enough. It has to be a Lambo bet, right? That's not enough. Casey inside the distance. Let's go. Why even put it in? Maybe she stops her late. I get better odds and I get all 3 rounds.
Okay, fair enough. The man has spoken. It must be a Lambo bet. I like the attitude, Tajik. I like it. All right, moving right along here. Our next fight of the night, Sean Woodson taking on Collin Anglin. And this one is interesting to me for a number of different reasons. Sean Woodson is a hyped prospect that, once again, I have just not really found myself impressed with. I bet against him in his last fight when Juicy J flatlined him. He's 8-1. That's his only professional loss. He's got a lot of boxing experience prior to turning over to MMA. He's extremely big for the division. Tall, long, chicken legs for days. This guy knows how to use his range, and he's always striking in combinations. Everything he does is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 punch combos. So be careful when you're in punching range, because he will absolutely land more than just a one and done on you. He's got a stiff jab, and like I mentioned before, that thing is long. He's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage in this spot, and he does have a pretty solid takedown defense rating of 81%. Collin Anglin, 8-2, a fighter who on the Contender Series I attempted to fade, lost my shot there, bet against him versus Melsick in his UFC debut, got that one done there. So I'm 1-1 against Collin Anglin here in this spot. And it's one of those spots where I remember looking back on his record when he was on the Contender Series and saying, he's got a really padded record, Tajik. I feel like Collin Anglin has fought absolutely nobody, and maybe we shouldn't be as high on this kid as we are. And then he went out and won on the Contender Series and looked pretty damn good. And against Melsik, you know what? He got knocked out, but we've seen the kind of power that Melsik has in his hands. Doesn't really surprise me, the finish. He actually gave Melsik some problems there. In the clinch, this guy is nasty. He's strong. He moves well. He's got big, powerful knees. He's aggressive when he strikes. And his ground game is really the thing that once he gets going on the ground, he's a completely different fighter. On the feet, he's solid. He's serviceable. And I think a lot of people's criticism of him is that he didn't try to take that fight with Melsik to the ground. I don't think he could. I think Melsik was too strong for him to get him to the ground and was too squirmy. Whenever they tied up in the clinch, he was able to wriggle out and not let Collin Anglin really get any form of control on him. If Collin Anglin comes out and looks to grapple and looks to wrestle, I think he might be able to play spoiler here against Sean Woodson. I mentioned the records before, and Sean Woodson is another one of these guys with an extremely padded record. I know his boxing credentials are solid, but his MMA record is relatively weak. I'm tempted on the big fat underdog here, Tajik. It's a fight that I think is close. It's a fight where it's a striker versus grappler. We've got a minus 300 favorite on Sean Woodson, plus 230, plus 240 the comeback on Collin Anglin. And like I said, I almost feel like this is a spot where you can just buy low on Collin because absolutely everybody's done with him because he got knocked out by Melsik Bagsarian. I think the line should maybe be a little bit closer. How are you playing this one?
Yeah, I never put much weight on the first fight, except especially when somebody comes out of Dana White Contender Series, and so just like I'm not gonna put much stock in the win in the Melsik's win, I'm not gonna put much weight into the Anglin's loss here. Because to me, anything could happen. That's the first fight. It's a big stage. He goes to a takedown. It's an adrenaline dump. Anything could happen. And Melsik is okay. He's a powerful guy, right? It's very hard to hold him down. So part of me thinks that Anglin has to proactively wrestle like he did against Naimov, and then try to control. But it's going to be very hard, to control Woodson. It's just going to be very hard to take Woodson down. He's very tall. You need to dig under, doubles, to try to get him down. And his get-up game, he's actually pretty good too. So, both Kyle Bochnek tried to take him down and control him. It's tough because when he gets up, he's gonna put you in trouble. And if you don't have a cardio and if you're tired, and then it's gonna be even bigger trouble, right? So, but Zalal had a pretty competitive fight with him. He ended up outstriking him on on the significant strikes. He took him down, and it was a split decision, right? So I think that's the way to beat him, right? Is proactively try to wrestle him and keep him down, and mix things up, right? Stand up with him when you can, just keep it, but change levels and take him down and try to control as much as you can. So I would always bet against Woodson. To me, one-dimensional fighters don't vote, well with me, betting wise. I think he's a great talent standing up. But just for Anglin, at these odds, why not? I could see it going to some kind of greasy split decision. That's the one that I'm going to be looking that once the DraftKings releases the odd, and I'm going to pick Anglin. And but that's if I would feel extra, extra giddy. I think just trying to go Anglin by decision, you can get it on 5 times at plus 470. So closer to the match day, we're probably going to be plus 500. I like that. Why not Anglin by decision?
There we go. Now we're talking Lambos. I like it, Tajik. I like that we agree a little bit on this one. Adam Humphreys in the chat saying that Woodson stuffed 15 takedowns against Zalal. And yes, he absolutely did, but he still lost that split decision because Zalal ended up getting 2 of them. And one thing that I think makes a difference in this fight is that our guy Anglin is just a little bit smaller than Zalal. And you may be like, Clint, you're crazy. That's a negative. Why would that be a positive? Because he's thicker. Collin Anglin is a much more muscular grappler than someone like Zalal is. There's a lot of comparisons already this week, Anglin to Zalal. Zalal is more of a cardio grappler. He's more of a trip takedown type of guy. He's not a power wrestler. He's a guy that will keep a pace, move around, footwork, stay in your face. Whereas Collin Anglin will pick you up and body you to the floor if that's where he wants you. And I think him being slightly smaller and more compact might actually be a benefit to him in this kind of a matchup, especially when he can get in on those long legs of Woodson. Now, obviously, try not to eat a knee on your entry, but as long as he can do that, again, I just think we're going to get a very close competitive fight. So plus 230, plus 240 on a fight that I feel like could come down to round 3 and be close. I did it with Colby. I have no problem doing it again here. CS in the chat showing some love. Saying Clinton should have killed it this week, and the picks were on point. 12-leg parlay closed. Only rose. Underdog paid 120x. Congratulations on the cash there, CX. I did do pretty well until the main card over the weekend, and really the biggest swing for me was that the over 1.5, man. Chris Bennett, absolutely loved the guy, but that spinning heel kick KO at 7 seconds is all I needed to get over that 1.5, and I had 3 units on it to win 2. That would have been a 5-unit swing for me had he just killed Gian Vellante a couple seconds later. So we were close to absolutely smashing this weekend. Real quick before we move on to the next fight, I don't know if he's in the chat or not, but I got to shout out my guy, Michael Lunday. Just thank you, Michael. I see your notes. I see your mentions here, and the guy sends me tips regularly, especially when we do well or have a fun episode. So I just want to say I appreciate you for always supporting the show, Michael, my man. You are absolutely the OGest of OGs, and I appreciate you. I know you're listening out there. Next fight up, Miguel Baeza taking on Khaos, Calvin Williams. I love me some Khaos, Tajik. Now, to be clear, I have not bet this fight yet, and I wanted to chat with you about this one, Tajik. I wanted to talk to you because what we have is 2 fighters that are very special in very different ways. Miguel Baeza is 10-1, maybe one of the biggest prospects to come off of the Dana White Contender Series that we've ever seen. High-level technical striking, a BJJ black belt. People forget how good this guy is when it hits the floor because he just never chooses to grapple. He's got snapping kicking attacks, a powerful teep to the body. He's got a long jab. He's always attacking the low calf and the legs. The problem is he's very hittable. We've seen him hurt. We've seen him wobbled. So far, he has been able to fight through that. And then like in the Matt Brown fight, he turned the narrative on its head and KO'd Matt Brown instead of going down himself. So he's able to dig deep and fight through things. And this fight is arguably a step down in competition. He fought Santiago Ponzinibbio in his last fight. He did lose that fight, but that is a much higher level of competitor than someone like Khaos Williams at this stage of his career. And he had some big-time success destroying the lead leg of Santiago Ponzinibbio early in that fight. If you go back and you listen to the commentators, they thought Pons wasn't going to be able to walk in the second round because he was doing so much damage early. Now, Khaos Williams, my boy's got the death touch. He can come out here and starch anybody in a minute, and that's one of the things that automatically gravitates me towards him here. He constantly lands big power, heavy shots. The problem is he gets a little over-aggressive. He swings wildly. He's got these big winging hooks. He rips the body, which I love to see, especially with the kind of power that he has. He's got a nasty step-in, uppercut. He himself has a long jab, and he's incredibly durable. As opposed to being a little bit chinny, we've seen Khaos Williams take some serious shots, and he just wears damage like it's nothing. He's more than willing to press his opponents up against the cage, so we like to see that. And he can win minutes by slowing his opponents down. Khaos Williams has a 3-inch reach advantage here in this spot, and he's currently an underdog to Baeza. It looks like some money is coming in on him. He opened up plus 125. He's sitting about plus 120 now. Baeza can be had for minus 140. I feel like I am the guy right now, especially in other sports, Tajik, they talk about betting streaks. You can only bet on a winning streak one time. Once that train comes into the station, it's over, it's done. You can't bet that streak anymore. I have been backing and cashing tickets with my boy Calvin Williams ever since he got to the UFC. I believe I've backed him in every single fight. So far, he hasn't lost, so I am riding high on Khaos. My gut tells me that Miguel Baeza might just be able to out-fancy this guy. He might be a level of technique ever so slightly higher. Now, that death touch of Khaos and the weak chin of Baeza makes this fight far closer simply because all it's going to take is one or two good shots from Khaos to close the show. Do I ride my boy? Do I just go back to the well blindly here and take the plus 120 on Khaos Williams since it's been working out with me so far? Do I pass because I feel like maybe Miguel Baeza is the right side here with a step down in competition? I want to know, how do you feel about this fight, Tajik?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because it's a close fight. With Khaos, what I like actually is that he outvolumes his opponents. Like Matthew Samuelsberger, he outvolumed him, and then Pereira, he outvolumed him as well, although he lost. Right? I thought it was a close fight. So I think that's the great things to see. And then with Baeza, is just in general, right? He, like you said, he has that grappling prowess. He can take it if he wanted to. I think it will be hard for him, and that's not his preferred choice. But it's just good to know that he has that possibility if he went to the ground for some reason, due to some crazy exchange or whatnot. But I like the fact that part of me, as a career development, doesn't like the fact that Baeza fought against Ponzinibbio. I think they rushed him a little bit too fast. They should have given him a bit lower level of opposition and tried to build him up. So I don't know what they're exactly trying to do here with him in giving him Khaos. It's a bit tough to judge. But I think it's a winnable fight for him. Just because that very experience with Ponzinibbio is going to make him stronger. He knows what it feels like. He knows where he needs to push. And I just think that he has more ways to victory, and he holds ever slight edge, which is why we see the odds the way we see them. I just don't know if he's gonna be able. If he wins, he's gonna be able to stop him by to stop Khaos. Khaos is very durable, so I don't see any kind of stoppage him. So if I'm backing Baeza, I'm backing him to win by decision. And by decision odds are going to be, something like plus 250, plus 270, which I think is an interesting odds. I know that both, bring fireworks, and there's a chance that they will knock out each other, but I'm going to lean slightly towards Baeza, and I feel like Baeza by decision is something that I'm going to be considering betting towards the end of the week.
Okay. I was kind of afraid you'd say that. That does make sense to me from a gambling perspective. I do want to correct myself here. The chat is roasting me. You're all absolutely wrong, and only Gabriel Rosario knows what's going on. Khaos won against Michel Pereira and got robbed by the judges, folks. So, yes, I did say that he hasn't lost in the UFC. That's my bad. He did drop the fight to Pereira, but I completely agree with my guy Gabriel that I scored that fight for Khaos Williams and it went the other way. C'est la vie. So I'm a little tempted to go back to the well here on this spot, but I do think that you're right, Tajik. If the finish comes, it's going to come from the Khaos side. I mean, maybe if for whatever reason Baeza decides to grapple, we see that ground game slip in here. But Khaos is a big, strong dude. He's got a good get-up game. He's got good hips. I don't know that this fight is ever going to hit the ground unless somebody gets clubbed and subbed, something like that. So I wouldn't read too far into that. I don't know. We'll see. I got time on this one. Unfortunately, the line is not going the way I want it to. Money's coming in on Khaos, so that line is getting shorter for me, but I might take a look at Khaos Williams a bit closer to fight time. I want to see these guys size up, see what they look like in front of each other. Maybe that'll sway me one way or the other, but I'll let you all know that my brain is telling me that I should be betting on Miguel Baeza for this fight, and both my heart and my golden horseshoe that's in my back pocket is telling me that I should roll the dice on Khaos Williams. Next fight we want to talk about is a very solid ladies fight. Cynthia Calvillo taking on Andrea KGB Lee. One of the most fun women's personalities I feel like in MMA today. Always bubbly, exciting, and lots of fun, and also very violent. I'm a big fan of Andrea KGB Lee. Cynthia Calvillo, 9-3-1. KGB Lee is 12-5. Cynthia's coming off of a TKO loss to Jessica Andrade just a couple months ago, so obviously a massive step down in competition, but she decided to box with Jessica Andrade. Just a poor choice, Tajik. She has not looked the same since moving up to flyweight, in my opinion. Now, she has been fighting the very top contenders in flyweight since she got over here, but I think a lot of Cynthia Calvillo's game is the grappling and the wrestling, the size, the strength, and that's not something that she has as much at flyweight as she used to. She's got solid boxing, good footwork. She's very light on her feet, but I don't think she's scaring anybody. She doesn't have knockout power. She's not threatening anything with her hands. And when she ties up with these bigger women, she doesn't have that dominant ground game that she used to. And I think that's a real concern here. Andrea Lee, she just snapped her 3-fight losing streak with a win over Shevchenko. We all know about Shevchenko's holes in her ground game. She was able to get that thing to the ground, held her in a triangle choke for an entire round before finally making the adjustment and getting the tap. Andrea Lee, a kickboxing background. She's a solid striker, very aggressive, sometimes makes some low IQ decisions. She throws at least one spinning back fist per fight, so you can expect to see that. And if your book offers if there will be a spinning attack, make sure you pound that yes on this one. She's really strong, though. KGB Lee is a very, very strong individual, and that kind of comes back to my point of I think Cynthia Calvillo is better and more technical everywhere. I just think she's smaller, and she's going to be out-strengthed. I know that's not a word. I'm just kind of making it up on the fly. And on top of that, we've got Lee, who averages more volume. So even though Cynthia is probably the more technical fighter, she averages 4.24 significant strikes per minute. She absorbs 3.75. Lee, on the flip side, averages 5.48 significant strikes per minute and only absorbs 3.68. So even though Cynthia seems to be the more technical striker, Andrea Lee is also the more active striker and has a better ratio for her striking defense. I see the market moving towards Cynthia Calvillo, and I get it. I feel like she should be able to wrestle and get back to her roots here in this spot. But Andrea Lee is a solid wrestler herself, and she's so big and strong at this weight class that I think that could pose some problems. This is another one where I have not pulled the trigger yet, Tajik, but I think I kind of lean towards the Andrea Lee side. How do you see this close fight playing out?
Yeah, I was always a big fan of KGB, and I think she's a great fighter. Yes, takedown defense has been a liability, but also, I think her fight against Modafferi, we always say, oh, she got taken down like 4 times, but she offered wrestling of her own. I mean, she took down Modafferi and outstruck her. I think she won that fight in my books, and I think she just has not been lucky, in her career. I think she deserves much more, and I hope one day she fights for the title. She's, I think, 32 right now, so I think she still has a chance. So I back her to win here. With Cynthia, the thing about it, I think Cynthia has been going through a lot. When you see her during the weigh-ins, during the walkouts, there's a lot of emotions coming out. I think there's something going on in the back end. Maybe I don't know. I cannot explain that, but just mentally, to be strong, I think is important, because even GSP used to say, like, what is it, like a mental game is 99%, one is skill. So it's like, it's tough. So I don't know where she is. And after her last KO, like that Andrade KO, like, it's even harder to imagine where she is, right, like mentally. So I hope she's in a good place. She finds herself, and makes a good performance, takes her down. If you're on her side, that's what you want. Try to take down Lee, control her, and maybe get some kind of a decision. But I like Lee's volume. I like her game overall. I like her as a fighter. I like her personality. And I'm gonna pick her to win here, and I'm gonna pick her to win by decision. Also, I don't see her stopping Cynthia. Cynthia is tough, so yeah, that would be the bet that I would be considering. But I want to see a little bit how the market is, and if there's a market action on Cynthia Calvillo going in right now, I mean, great, keep it coming, because I'm not betting Cynthia this week, and by all means, it is only, I think, going to favor me to get the better odds on Lee.
Okay. All right. I guess I'll remain patient here with you, Tajik, and see just how far this line goes. Marshall Musk in the chat. I'm sorry, I'm butchering that name. I apologize. Musik says, KGB, a former teammate of mine. She flourishes against more technical fighters, which Calvillo is. The people she has issues with are those strong, hard-nosed, gritty fighters. Andrea's too big for Calvillo. You kind of nailed exactly what the two of us were talking about. I agree with you here in this spot. I do feel like this line maybe gets a little bit better for us since the market appears to be moving towards Calvillo. There's a little bit of a buyback on Lee once she hit plus 105 in this spot. It's been right around the pick'em since it opened. I believe Andrea Lee opened up minus 120. It's now flipped to Cynthia Calvillo minus 120, minus 125. So yeah, we'll see where this thing goes. I think the decision is probably the right way to do it. Both these women are very tough to finish, and I'm glad you mentioned the mindset for Cynthia Calvillo, Tajik. She didn't get knocked out flat. When you watch that fight, it was a referee stoppage. She got hurt. She realized she was not going to be doing well in that exchange. And then Andrade just poured it on. Herb Dean had to step in and save her. So I don't think we need to worry so much about the short turnaround, the chin, things like that. But you got to wonder what it does for her confidence. She's really struggled with some of the best fighters, and she's been talked about as being a title contender, things of that nature. So yeah, I think there's a decent chance that maybe she loses to Andrade twice here. You know what I mean? Maybe she is not in the right place to get back into the cage, and Andrea Lee is able to take full advantage of that. So that might be a spot I end up getting to. Hopefully we get a slightly better number, but I'll definitely be putting a pin in Andrea Lee. We like that side together here on this one. Moving on, we're getting to the big boys here. This is a good one. Thiago Moisés taking on Joel Alvarez. And I like my boy, Joel Alvarez. I'm incredibly disappointed, Tajik, that this is his matchup here in this spot. I've had a hell of a time backing Joel Alvarez. He's a big dog, and I've cashed in on him several times already. I was hoping to get one more spot where he comes in and he's being disrespected. And that's almost exactly what's happening here, but I can't quite bring myself to pull the trigger. Thiago Moisés is a minus 250 favorite. You can get the comeback on Joel Alvarez out there about plus 205-ish. Thiago Moisés 15-5, Alvarez 18-2. We know that Thiago trains out of ATT, and he just got run through the freight train that is Islam, got him. He's a high-level BJJ practitioner, and the only time he's been submitted, I think, was to Islam. Very well-rounded, sharp boxing, never been knocked out. This guy goes to the calf kicks. He fought well against Alexander Hernandez. I like Thiago Moisés' all-around game, and especially now is the point. You know, we've seen him fighting for the last several years. It feels like he should be 35, 36. He's a young kid. This guy is still making improvements, still getting better. We have yet to see the peak of Thiago Moisés. Joel Alvarez is massive at 155. He is a huge man, and he's a grappling specialist. Tall and long, has a solid kicking offense, likes to attack the legs and the body with long kicks, and then kind of force you to shoot in on him. And then he dives on front chokes and tries to take people out or sweep from his back. He likes to attack with elbows off of his back, something that I always look out for, because if you've got a fighter who prefers to play from their back, if they're attacking with elbows, they can steal rounds. If their opponent is a wet blanket style fighter and they're landing elbows and doing damage from their back, every once in a while, you'll steal a judge's scorecard in that position. So I do like to see that from him. The only problem for me here, Tajik, is he doesn't follow any game plan I want him to. If Joel Alvarez were more offensive, came forward, used his own offensive wrestling, went for top position, I think this kid could be a monster. The problem is he backs up. He uses those kicks. He waits for you to come in on him. He gives up ground. Thiago Moisés is going to have no problem being all in or all out in this situation. He'll come forward. He'll be in boxing range, and that is where Joel Alvarez struggles. And that 7-inch reach advantage of Joel Alvarez doesn't matter for jack squat when he's on his back. I don't see him submitting Thiago Moisés. Moisés gave up the rear naked choke to Islam, who was using that wrestling heavy style to get into a dominant position. Alvarez is going to be throwing up arm bars from his back. That's not how you catch Thiago Moisés. So as much as I want to cheer for Joel Alvarez, as much as I was tempted when this fight was announced to dive on the big underdog here, I wish I could make a fancy call for everybody. I think Thiago Moisés is the rightful favorite, and I think Thiago Moisés grinds out a wrestling heavy decision for a 15-minute win here.
Yeah, I like Joel here. Um,
Oh,
yeah, I like him just in general because the thing with the thing I'm noticing with Joel is just in general, his size is very important. I think for this fight, and I think with Thiago, Thiago is a little bit too much. I think in love with his hands. He's been putting a lot of focus, on his stand up game and improving. And I think it's interesting. I think I agree that maybe he should be slight favorite, here. And but I disagree with the odds. I don't find it to be appropriate. I think if they are like somebody said it in the chat also, it's a bit disrespectful, because what might happen is that if Joel, let's say, decides to keep the distance and just box with him, we know that Thiago doesn't offer much volume, right? Bobby, he did beat Bobby, but Bobby outstruck him, right? That win actually aged well. Now you're looking at the Bobby, you know, he Bobby Green looks amazing. So I think it's
Tajik, the
important,
one time I don't play the KO prop. I've been betting Bobby Green KO for
right?
his last 3 fights in a row, knowing it was coming. The one time I don't bet it, he flatlines a guy.
Yeah, but he didn't have like a stoppage win in like 8 years. Like it's nearly a
Yeah.
decade, and then something like this happens. I mean, it's a total randomness, right? That KO. But yeah, it's so what I think when I look at the Joel. I mean, Joel can be competitive. I think he can offer him a good opposition standing, and if he avoids actually being taken down, I think it's gonna be a good fight. It's gonna be a close fight. Uh, I think Joel has to understand that if he takes him down, if Thiago takes him down, he's gonna hold him down. There's no way he's gonna try to submit him. And against his opponents previously, I think Joel had the confidence that he can submit Yakovlev, he can submit Duffy. They were not credentials, BJJ practitioners, right? So now when we're looking at Thiago, I mean, the first thing it screams that is his BJJ credentials. So it has to be, the first message should be, how do I go about winning this fight? And he knows that maybe avoiding it, being taken down, he could be away and try to put a little bit more volume, knowing that Thiago is a low volume stand up during the stand up affair. So why not? I like, I don't mind betting Joel here. I definitely, want more people to bet on Thiago. I understand why he's a favorite, but I'm always trying to find, those value spots, and I will be considering betting Joel. He actually is in one of my parlay that I bet him, and I bet him earlier, and I'm gonna predict him Joel by split decision.
Okay. Okay. Hey, if you think it's going to go to a split decision, always take the dog. That's kind of my motto. So I like it. It's a bold call, Tajik. I wish I could get there with you. My eyes are telling me that Thiago Moisés is the side here, so I don't think I'll be lining up on that side with you. But I also don't think I'm going to be headed to the other side. This is one of those parlay caution PSA type of spots where a lot of people are going to look at that minus 250 for Thiago, and it's going to be juicy. It's perfect to get even money to parlay him up with somebody else at a similar line. I would caution you, maybe don't do that, because there's a chance this fight plays out relatively closely, like Tajik just mentioned. And I just whacked my headphone plug and knocked it out. There we go. We're back in business. I talk with my hands in case you guys didn't notice, so gotta love it. Next fight, Song Yadong taking on Julio Arce. And Tajik, I'll be honest, man, I have no clue what to do with this fight. Song Yadong is coming to us out of Team Alpha Male, and Julio Arce is extremely aggressive. We have seen Julio Arce. I backed him his last fight, and he's just a monster. He cooks people. He cranks that intensity up throughout the fight. Vicious, nasty striker. Carries that power late. Attacks with bad intentions on everything. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here in this spot with a 93% takedown defense rating. Song Yadong, though, he's a high volume striker. He is explosive, very physically strong, good, solid offensive wrestling, but I mentioned Julio Arce's 93% takedown defense. Tajik, this is going to be an absolute war on the feet, in my opinion. I think these guys are going to throw down, and this is going to be one hell of a fight. Maybe the sleeper. I mean, if the main event wasn't Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez, like this would be fight of the night, front runner in a heartbeat. I'm a little tempted on the underdog Julio Arce here, but I just made a bold statement last time out that I felt like Song Yadong had peaked, and then he went out and basically slapped me for my mistake of underestimating him. And I don't really want to do that again. Minus 140, minus 150 on Song Yadong, plus 120, plus 125 on Julio Arce. I expect this fight to be very competitive, very close. I think the durability of both these guys holds up, and we see a 15-minute battle all the way to the judges' scorecards. And I might just be passing fireball and popcorn on this one, Tajik. I might just be enjoying it as a fan. Do you have a play on this one?
Yeah, yes, I bet Song Yadong straight. I like him. I think he's a dessert favorite. He just his volume. I think the way he puts, I think is great. His power. I mean, just offensively, how aggressive he is. Like his, I can relate to that. I think it's phenomenal. I think he's a great fighter. I think he's a complete fighter. Yes, with Kyler it was a little bit tough. It was a close fight also, but I expect big things from him. I actually watched his fight. I remember he was fighting in the C1s. I don't remember which card it was, but it was it was a Cody Stamann fight. Oh my goodness, the crowd was just went ballistic there, thinking that Cody won. I thought it was a draw. I was actually screaming, that it was a draw. And so I don't know. I expect big things from him. I think actually, in the near future, I think we're gonna see him actually potentially fighting for a championship. I'm gonna probably say this. I believe in him. I think he's very talented. He's young. He's aggressive, and with Arce, I think he's more like at maybe. He's not past his prime, but if he's trying to win and make something, a run, he has to do it now. I just generally hasn't been high on the fighters coming out of the Tiger Schulman when it comes to betting. I think they're great. They're fierce. They bring a lot of intensity, but just in general, betting wise, it's just not. I don't bet on camps, but the Tiger Schulman fighters are the ones that I tend to fade when it comes to from the betting perspective. I enjoy watching their fights, but I don't enjoy betting on them. So yeah, I'm gonna pick Song Yadong here. I think he's gonna take it. I don't think he stops Julio. Julio is tough. I'm gonna take Song Yadong by decision. And that's I bet him straight, but I don't know. I haven't checked the decision prop, but I think he's gonna just go out there and do his thing. So I'm gonna pick Song Yadong by decision.
Okay. I don't mind it at all, Tajik. I might take the coward's way out, and there's a chance that we just lay the chalk on fight goes the distance at minus 165 here in this spot. I think it'll play out pretty closely. I will side with you, and I'll say Song Yadong gets it done. I don't blame anyone for backing Julio Arce. Now, Arce is alternating fights here. So if you're into that kind of superstition, split decision loss against Shayman Moraes, KO over Julian Erosa, who we know has some chin concerns, split decision loss to Hakeem Duwadu, TKO win over Andre Ewell, another fighter who slows down, gasses, and is a little bit chinny. Loss is next up if he continues the pattern via split decision. So if you're into rolling the dice and you've got that split decision prop at your book, maybe take a look at that one for Song Yadong. I can't believe the kid's only 23 years old, Tajik. It's insane how good he is and the level he's fighting at just 23.
Yeah, and the guy fought who is who of the division. Vera. Who is he fought Stamen. I mean, it's a great experience, and he's gonna be improving more and more. fight to fight, right? Whereas with Arce, we know he's probably peaking right now. This is the top of his skill set that he has to offer. That's another thing when you factoring in, betting. Like I think if they were about the same age, trajectory wise, they're somewhat close, but Yadong is slightly ahead. It would have been a little bit closer odds, but that's where I think you would see the value. I think that the path for Yadong is there to make significant improvements and make the title run, whereas with Arce, he has to try really really hard because he's not going to have that many chances. And yeah.
All right. I agree. I like it. Probably a pass for me. We'll see what ends up happening here by Saturday, but we're both picking Song Yadong here in this spot. The next fight up on the card, we're on the main card now. That was the first fight of the main card for anybody keeping track at home. We've got a little mishmash here of a fight in Roman Dolidze taking on Kyle Daukaus. Both of these guys had previous opponents who have pulled out of this fight card. This is one that was thrown together at the last second because they both lost their opponents. Now, we all remember Kyle Daukaus and Kevin Holland. We had the weird situation there, and he needed an opponent because apparently Kevin Holland, I believe he got injured, not COVID, I think, from what I saw. Roman Dolidze, also similar situation here, fills in. They decide, you know what, both these guys are 185ers. Forget it. It's short notice, quick turnaround. We're just going to go ahead and throw them up at 205. So keep that in mind. This fight is taking place at 205, even though these are both 185 pounders. Opening line here, they've got Kyle Daukaus at minus 220. Roman Dolidze currently plus 180. It opened up wider than that. Daukaus minus 270. Roman Dolidze plus 220 was the opener. So some love coming in here for Roman Dolidze. And I get it. Roman Dolidze has been very popular. I've been a fan of him so far in his career here. 9-1. Another fighter kind of similar to what we were talking about with Arce in that last one. His time is now. If he wants to make a run at it, he's not a young fighter in the game. He really needs to put some momentum behind him and climb that ladder. Kyle Daukaus, on the flip side of things, very young, very high ceiling, lots of time for him to improve and grow, get where he needs to be. Dolidze is a big, strong, explosive striker and grappler. I know that leaves a lot to the imagination on what this guy's skill set is. He's got those explosive kicks, goes to the body, goes to the head, mixes in takedowns every once in a while, and he's solid with his BJJ skills, maybe a little too solid to Jeek. He tells, he calls over and talks shit with his coaches in the corners, asking if he should submit people in the middle of fights, just completely disrespects his opponent and their skills when he's on the mat. Very low fight IQ. You got to be very careful backing Roman Dolidze because he will let these close fights slip away. He will let these dominant positions slip away because he wants to be flashy or he's having fun. These are the types of things we need to watch out for. On top of that, Roman Dolidze, so comfortable with his jiu-jitsu, looks like he's only got a 37% takedown defense. Kyle Daukaus, preparing for a guy in Kevin Holland, this is a big shakeup of a match. Fast, sharp hands, good boxing. He's big at 185, but remember, we're at 205, and Roman Dolidze is a guy who just dropped a former 205er himself. Even though Kyle Daukaus has an inch of height on Roman Dolidze, I'm not entirely sure he's going to be the bigger man. Roman Dolidze might be much thicker and stronger without that weight cut come Saturday. Now, Kyle Daukaus has proven to be pretty damn durable himself. He's got nasty front chokes. He likes that darce. The fight with Phil Hawes really concerns me, Tajik. He made Phil Hawes look like a guy who's got cardio. He got stuck on his back. Phil Hawes was able to wrestle him and just keep him down. Roman Dolidze is a guy that could definitely do that here in this spot, and if he wants to just wet blanket his way to a 15-minute win, I think it's possible, but at the same time, I think people are underrating the speed and the aggression of Kyle Daukaus in this spot. I feel like if he is able to keep this fight on the feet whatsoever, once Roman Dolidze slows down, Kyle Daukaus is going to be in the clear to steal back those last couple rounds, maybe even get a late finish of his own with his hands. I know there's a lot of love coming in on Roman Dolidze. I know we love a live dog, but I'm kind of going favor to pass in this spot, Tajik. How do you see this one playing?
Yes, it's tough to bet Daukaus here on the spots. The line is wide. There's a bias, with that Holland stoppage. He was winning it. And with Dolidze, he's just had the subpar performances. By the way, when he talks about, hey, coach, should I submit him or not? It's mental lapse. If I'm a fighter and you're saying something like that to me, I think, it just shows that you're lacking the confidence. I mean, if you're there to submit me, or KO, go ahead and do it. Why are you talking to your coaches about that? So, and I think when fighters fight him, they understand him too. He tries to go out there to take people down and, and go for a finish, right? For leg locks, and it's tough. So I think we're going to see here, it's a close matchup, but at the same time, I don't know if I should bet Daukaus, right? Like minus 200. What is it? What's the line right now?
It's minus 225 Daukaus, plus 180 for Dolidze.
Yeah, it's tough to bet him. I think that what's going to happen if you're trying to bet Daukaus here, right? Wait a little bit because there is a lot of love coming in on Dolidze right now, and somewhere towards like Thursday, Friday, before the line trend reverses, try to go on Daukaus, right? But you have to find the optimal point where you would like to come in on Daukaus. Should be somewhere around minus 170 or minus 180 probably. That should be the best you're gonna get on him, because yeah, that's my prediction as well. But I think Daukaus here should be a favorite. He is a deserved favorite, and it will be although it's going to be a close matchup, I think he's gonna do well. With Khaos, when you look at Khaos, he did what he was supposed to do. What he tried to do is to wrestle with him and take him down, make it uncomfortable. He had the game plan to surprise him. What I like, we talked about it with Sean Orr, and I think it was a great insight from him, is that Khaos actually let him work, and try to, against the cage, and try to prevent Daukaus from getting taken down, because Daukaus gassed out. Phil Khaos is a big boy, he's a machine. So what he tried to do is he allowed him, to get like a body lock to try to wrestle with him, and eventually Daukaus just faded. I mean, go try to take this guy down. I don't think I can take Phil Khaos down, So that's the thing, right? It's tough. So he gets out, and that's why you see this surge in Khaos in round 2 and 3. It wasn't because Khaos had this cardio thing going in. It's because at some point Daukaus started, slowing down. So that's maybe a bit unconventional angle, but that's the way I have seen this fight having unfolded. So I think he will be measured this time around. He knows that actually Dolidze himself doesn't have a good cardio. He's a low volume guy, and and what is Dolidze going to do off of the takedowns? Even if he taken down, his control game is not there. Daukaus is going to elbow him, make him uncomfortable, So, and then round 2 and 3 is always, they're very tough to score them for Dolidze because he's just not there.
He just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, he does not, right? Like, what do you like? We know what Daukaus can do, right? We saw it at least, right? Like, he at least tried to become competitive. Dolidze just shuts off, right? I mean, but yeah, like I'm gonna pick Daukaus here. I'm not betting Daukaus. I'll be honest. I'll wait and then see, if it's significant. If it reverses, if the line reverses, if the trend reverses, then I'll consider betting him. But right now he's not. And Dolidze, I mean, if you're betting at the Dolidze, I don't know. I mean, good luck. Good luck. But this is like Uncle Weezy says. I mean, this is 100 gambler to me. I mean. Come on, I mean, this guy. Yeah, but good luck. Anyway, good luck. Yeah, I'm gonna take Daukaus here and to win. Potentially even submit Dolidze. Why not? Like somewhere towards the third round. Daukaus by submission. There you go.
I was thinking third round sprinkle myself here to Jeek. I think that might not be a half bad call. Yeah, like I was talking about, Daukaus is huge. We don't know how fighting at 205 is going to affect this kid. He may be much bigger, stronger, and have an excellent gas tank fighting at 205 when compared to 185. There could be a big upside there.
I agree.
All right. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Oh, they're on to us, Tajik. Daukaus in round 3 is only plus 1050, so it's not... I was hoping, the 17, 18 range. I'm not going to ever sniff at a 10-1. Those are hard enough to hit, but I was hoping it'd be a little wider than that. All right. Do want to give a shout out here real quick. We got a donation from Big Steve saying the GOAT and the reverse GOAT. Let's go. Tajik's the GOAT. I guess that makes me the reverse GOAT. I'll tell you, I'm more like a bighorn ram. I'm big, I'm hairy, I'm white. I slam my head into rocks repeatedly without learning my lesson. The GOAT and the bighorn ram is probably a little bit more appropriate.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
I think we both bring great perspectives, in entertainment and show to the fans, regardless of how we do during the week, right? We can do that's the thing that I noticed in you as well, Clint, right? Like you can have a great night and you can have a bad night, right? Does it matter? I think your fan base doesn't care because you bring so much personality, you bring so much charisma, and this is why these guys tune in, like that's how I think about it.
That's the idea from me, Tajik. There's a lot of people out there, and I used to be one of them that just want to be the best sports bettor in the world. You want to, be the number one ranked, have all the people paying you for your picks and your information. And when I first started this podcast, I wanted to be one of those people. I wanted to bring new fans to the sport of MMA. I wanted to turn other gamblers into MMA gamblers, and I still want those things, but the one thing I've given up on is I don't want to be the number one sports bettor. I want to put on a damn good show. I want to put some money in your pockets. I want to try and sniff out a big, fun underdog for you that we can hit by knockout at 6-1, like freaking Chris Curtis. So those are the kinds of things that we're trying to do. But yeah, man, I think that's a big piece of it. I want to have an entertaining show, and I've built a wonderful fan base and a community. So definitely appreciate it. We are getting close to winding this thing down, folks. One nice thing about the whole time zone change is that we won't be in the way of Monday Night Football anymore. That's pretty sweet. We should be done before the big show kicks off here. Next up, Felicia Spencer taking on Leah Letson. And oh boy, is this... if there was a 1-800-GAMBLER on this card, this is the one. And Tajik, I'm a little ashamed to say I'm tempted. Felicia Spencer, 8-3. Leah Letson is 5-2. And when Felicia first made it to the UFC, I really loved her. She's tough, she's gritty, she's durable, she takes a punch. She likes to work on the ground. High-level BJJ black belt. She's got some solid ground and pound. She's a really strong grappler. The problem is she is not a good wrestler. She has a hard time getting these fights to the ground. But once she does, if she can get it down there, she is a dominating force. Now, she's a minus 350 favorite here in this spot. The comeback on Leah Letson is plus 260. And like I said, I'm a little tempted to Jig, but it would be the absolute blindest shot in the dark maybe I've ever taken. Like, just blindfold me and let me huck it and hope that I can hit with it here. Leah Letson, she competed back on Tough 28. She's active in the United States Air Force, and she hasn't fought since 2018. Apparently, she had some very serious health issues and had to put her whole career on hold to overcome that. Now that she's coming back, and she's saying all the right things. She feels like a new woman. She's never been stronger. She's finally been able to focus on her fighting and her career, get back where she needed to be instead of just trying to survive one fight to the next. Honestly, she's a solid striker. The problem I have with her is she doesn't really move her head a whole lot. She's a decent bit hittable, but she returns fire to Jeek. Like, she will take your punch and she will come back with 2 and 3 of her own, and she hits hard. She has lots of feints. She's got a powerful left kick that I've seen her take someone's head off with. She likes to mix up going to the body and the head. She's only a BJJ purple belt herself, but she's got that sub defense and she's got a decent get up game. She's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. I can't wrap my brain around Felicia Spencer being a minus 300 favorite to Jeek. I can't get there. I don't understand. Talk to me. What am I missing?
I don't think you're missing anything. I think I'm not familiar with Leah Letson. I mean, I understand that she fought Stoliarenko and she beat her. But when the fighter has been away for this long, it's really tough to bet her, right? Especially when your opponent fought everybody for Cyborg, Amanda Nunes, that actually split decision, even loss against Norma Dumont right now is aging really, really well. I mean, she's great. That's the problem with calibrating Felicia Spencer, because with capping her, because she just fought this high level of opposition, and she, in most of the instances, she lost to them. So we're kind of like a little bit. I think we're our impression of her is a little bit lower than what it should be. I think she's great. I think she's a good fighter. She, at this point, more experienced. With this level of fighting, this level of opposition, I mean, you will make improvements, no doubt. I mean, the just experience wise, and it's just I don't have a bet on her. I don't know why. Why would I want to bet Felicia? I think she's gonna come back and run through Leah, unless it's some kind of a prop bet where I feel like really confident betting. I'm staying away for it for now, and it has to be something extraordinarily great for me to take any kind of action. So for now, I'm not gonna do that. It's a pass for me. And Leah, it's just you've been away from MMA for 3 years. The thing about it is that we have to see, right, if Leah does well in this fight and then loses, like, let's say, competitive decision, then her next fight, she's a betting material, right? Because if Felicia's gonna, dominate her, right? Felicia's a great opponent, and we're gonna underestimate Leah in her next fight. So we have to see how she shows up. That's why you don't want to bet her right away, right? Even at these odds, because you don't know what she shows up. And if she loses, but she shows up well, then she's somewhat, you can make some, a case for betting her next time, because she will be, underpriced, and you could get a good price for her. So it's a stay away, to be short. And to conclude, and I take Felicia Spencer, and so far it's probably she's gonna go there and beat her up by submission.
Okay. I respect the opinion, Tajik. I totally understand what you're saying, and that's probably the cautious approach may be the best way to play this one. You're absolutely right, because it is so hard backing a fighter who we haven't seen in 3 years. And the interview where I listened to her talk, she even said herself, she was like, don't bother watching me fight the last 2 fights. I don't look like that anymore. And that's something I feel like fighters say that they know the little tweaks in their game that they have adjusted that we don't understand, but they always tend to over-exaggerate when they say that. So I think we'll still have some idea of what she fights like, but we should expect changes. We should expect differences, improvements, things of that nature. And because of that, we really don't know what we're getting into here. So like I said, for me, it's a big-time dog or pass spot because Felicia just hasn't quite been able to impress me the way a fighter with a minus 300 or minus 350 price tag should. So I'm not backing the favorite. A dart throw on the underdog would really be the only thing I could justify here in this spot. And again, that's straight 1-800-GAMBLER territory. Wheezy and Brady will knock on my front door and drag me away in handcuffs with a bag over my head if I place a bet on this fight. So I'm probably passing as well. We're at the co-main event, folks. My daddy, Big Ben Rothwell, bringing it against Marcos Rogerio de Lima. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know I have already dropped the bomb on this bad boy. I got plus 130 on Marcos Rogerio de Lima. And Tajik, it's not 1 unit. It's not 2 units. This is a 3-unit banger underdog bet. I'm bringing the hammers. Thanksgiving dinner's going to be awkward with Daddy because I'm betting against Big Ben Rothwell on Saturday. I am so pumped for this fight, Tajik. I made the mistake, okay, last week, especially with my guy, actually the Chris's, both Chris Barnett and Chris, and now I'm blanking on his name, Curtis. I knew without a shadow of a doubt that those 2 men were going to get it done, but yet I only put 1 unit on each of them. And I have that same exact gut feel today that I know Marcos Rogerio de Lima is going to get his arm raised on Saturday. And instead of just putting 1 unit on it and letting those free monies sail on down the river, I'm going to take advantage of it, Tajik. I'm hitting this one, and I'm hitting it hard. Big Ben Rothwell is a legend of the sport. He's 39-13, but we cannot argue against the fact that the man is slowing down. He's 40 years old now. He's a new dad. His last couple fights, he has just looked worse and worse. He is plodding, flat-footed, heavy on his feet. He simply walks forward and fires straight punches, but it's not the old Big Ben Rothwell straight punches. It's not the skull-crushing Big Ben Rothwell straight punches. It's these lazy half-ass, just kind of popping them out there punches that aren't really hurting anybody. He really relies on tanking his opponent's offense and then trying to out-volume them the other way. And imagine betting on Big Ben Rothwell as a volume guy. It's not how he's built. It's never how he's been. He's got underrated BJJ. I know everyone's excited about that. He submitted Chris Barnett the last time out, but let's be honest, the Chris Barnett that showed up this weekend versus the Chris that showed up against Big Ben Rothwell are two completely different men. One trained for that fight, the other one rolled off the couch. He was exhausted. Ben Rothwell didn't hurt him. Barnett was tired, and he had no other chance but to choke. And those of you who haven't done jiu-jitsu, there's certain chokes that you use your leverage and your body weight on. That's what Big Ben Rothwell did. He was cupping underneath the chin here. He had the neck. And then if you saw, he made sure his body, his weight, was right smack on top of Chris Barnett. It was the 265 pounds of Big Ben Rothwell that applied that submission, not muscle, not technique. It was a body weight choke that got it done for him. And he had a completely gassed opponent to take advantage of. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here in this spot, but to be completely honest, I'm not afraid of it because he doesn't use it right. Marcos de Lima is training out of ATT, and I know he's a bit older. He's 36 years old, but he's still managing to improve. He's a little small at heavyweight, but he's kind of like Chris Barnett, where he is fast, he is explosive, and he can move. This guy has thick tree trunk legs. He fires hard leg kicks that were giving Alexander Romanov a hard time in that fight until he got taken down. He's got big hooks, overhand right hand that's really powerful. His Muay Thai is on point. I know a lot of people are talking about how he's got 6 of 8 losses by submission, so of course this is just Big Ben by sub. The difference, Tajik, is that Big Ben Rothwell cannot do what Alexander Romanov did. Marcos de Lima was taken down by Romanov, and he exploded and got back to his feet the first time. Big Ben Rothwell is a guy that doesn't have top control anymore. A tired Barnett was able to explode and get out from under him in their fight as well. I don't think he's going to be able to keep Marcos Rogerio de Lima down in that position. And on top of that, De Lima is showing that he's working on his wrestling game. In his last fight, hell, he came out and he turned into a D1. He put the singlet on and he wrestled Maurice Green to a decision win of his own. So it's showing new wrinkles. It's showing he's improving. I think Marcos is being incredibly underrated here, and I think Ben, unfortunately, is just over the hill. He is so heavy on that front foot, Tajik. De Lima is going to kick the ever-living crap out of it. And as soon as Big Ben Rothwell starts to hurt on those feet and shoots a sloppy takedown, he's going to eat a right hand. I think De Lima is going to knock him out cold on Saturday, Tajik.
Yeah, that's a great take. My only issue with De Lima just in general is what is he gonna do if he so in a stand-up, I don't think his output is much significant or different from Ben Rothwell, right? That's one. And then what happens is that in his Green fight, for instance, he took the path of taking Green down. So most of the fights, it doesn't go to a decision. And so standing up wise, what happens? Ben Rothwell just he walks through you. You punch him, you kick him, he just keeps coming. And that it doesn't matter to him, right? So if you, I think if De Lima attacks his front leg, like with the leg kicks, like that could work out. But Ben Rothwell, like I think he will continue going forward, pressing forward, and that's a little bit problematic. And I just don't know what is De Lima going to do. Like let's say if he kicked him and it didn't work out, and then Rothwell keeps forward and he tries to take him down, and then he can't. That's going to be a problem because although like the first round might be towards De Lima, then he will Rothwell can push the action. I think he might. The more I think about it, the more it's kind of like a fate for me. I like De Lima here. I think he has a slight. I'm slightly leaning De Lima just so far, but before I kind of release my official picks on Twitter. He is my pick, but I think it's gonna be close fight. It's gonna be close fight. With Ben, he's in that 40s club, but then at the same time, we have to keep in mind that he fought with Tibura. It was a competitive fight. He also subbed or was submitted Barnett. who who's gonna fight for the UFC title soon, right? That was my first reaction when he beat Vilanch. I was like, give this man a title shot. I mean, heavyweight is such a mess. Like, go ahead, give him a title shot. Like, it's gonna be hilarious. So yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like, I think. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for both of the fighters. I think early, if Delima consistently, implements the striking game, tries to mix up tad bit with the grappling, I think he has an edge. I just don't know because I haven't seen him enough in the stand-up going throughout 3 competitive rounds.
Mhm.
You see what I mean? That's because that's the if, and I don't know. And I've seen Roswell there, good or bad. He's gonna go. He's gonna fight. Right? He fought Tibura. Most of his wins are coming by decision anyway. Right? So it's like that's where it's hard to to bet on the Lima. So yeah, that's where I'm leave it at.
Okay. I can respect the take to Jeek there, definitely. And I think the biggest thing for me really was that Romanov fight. Because if you go back, De Lima had the perfect strategy for Romanov, and Romanov wanted nothing to do with the stand up. De Lima was not slowing down, he was not getting tired. It was working very well for him until that awkward front choke that he just never saw coming. He exploded and got back to his feet the first time. He had clearly won that first round, in my opinion. And then he got caught completely off guard by that forearm to the neck. If he does that to Ben Rothwell, that same, hide and seek, running away and just kicking the shit out of his legs, I don't think Ben's going to make it 7 minutes. I think he's too heavy on his feet for that.
Yeah, I understand. But we saw this. We saw this Romanov. Him picking apart Romanov for 1 round.
Sure.
Right?
Can he do it for 15? I understand.
That's the whole premise. I would love if that would, because that's what bothers me, because if I have seen him at least survive that round and saw him going into the second round, round and a half, and put the space the same way he did, and then got stopped, I would have said, there's no. But that's probably those with the Lima would have been favored, right? Because he would have offered Romanov such a competitive fight. But for the pick purposes, right, for breaking down, I would love to have seen De Lima fought a competitive round, not just against Romanov, but just in general, going into a stand-up fight, 3 rounds, and to make any kind of opinion of him. And if you go through his fights, you unfortunately they're none that you have you call and and say that that's the fight that I saw, and I think he's going to be good going 3 rounds with Rothwell.
This may be me taking a bit too much of a leap of faith here, but the Maurice Green fight, that showed me the IQ and the pace that I feel like I need. I know striking and grappling are 2 completely different things, and I know wet blanketing somebody is not the same thing as striking for 15 minutes. But we talk all the time about how striking cardio and grappling cardio are 2 completely separate things. This man is not a grappler. And he put together a perfect game plan, stuck to it, went 15 minutes, and beat his opponent using his weaker skill. I think he can do that using his strength. Again, that's me connecting dots here, but I'm kind of taking that as I think he will come in with a good, solid game plan, and I do think he'll be able to execute that game plan for as long as it takes.
Yeah, I think he will do well. It will be a competitive fight, and what it tells us is that we know that De Lima always tries to put a great game plan for the fight, right? I think it's a great insight, and so working with ATT is probably gonna, always have him come in with a good fights, and he fought a high level of opposition. In all fairness, he got submitted by. Who was these guys like Saint Preux and the others, like he fought like a good opposition. I mean, Romanov himself, I mean, the guy is a King Kong. Stefan Struve, yes, okay, so you can say that his loss is actually Nikita Krylov. So he fought the great opposition and got only submitted. So if Barnett is expecting to knock him out, yeah, it's also going to be tough for him. So yeah.
All right, here we go. Big underdog hammer for the weekend. I'm excited. Want to give a shout out here. Eric Betts Fight says, just want to say I'm loving the show, guys. Thank you for the great analysis and the fun show. Thank you, Eric, and thank you very much to the other 235 of you tuning in live here on your Monday night. We got a nice big live crew for the show. And hey, the tips and the donations are always appreciated. I'm doing them here in the chat. All the proceeds go straight to Pub Sports Radio, helping us keep bringing the live content to you. We definitely appreciate that. And hey, you can always hit me up on Venmo and PayPal after the big score weekends. And
this
Renee.
is awesome. Yeah, this
Go
is
ahead,
awesome.
go ahead, Tajik.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's important, right? Like support the content creators, right? This is, I know, a lot of people give, to talk about me, hey, you always support channels. That's what we're here for, right? Support each other. Clint is doing this content for you guys. It's absolutely no cost, right? So hit him up on PayPal or however you want him, but support him. And I think you're doing a, good job. We thank you for all your donations. And I think if anybody deserves it, it's going to be Clint. I think that's my opinion.
Well, thank you very much, Tajik. That means a lot to me. Renee comes in here with the sticker, and I can't see the sticker chosen, but I do see the comment saying, I sent you a rose for calling Chris Curtis. Thank you, Renee. Much appreciated. Thank you for the rose. I definitely appreciate it. And I'm glad you rode with me on that call because that one was fun. George comes in saying Ngannou don't want that Barnett smoke. George knows what's up. Barnett's coming. Put the whole heavyweight division on notice.
Yeah, we spoke with George about it, and I think we did. But my immediate reaction was that Gunn should drop to 205 after seeing Barnett, because I mean, if
run,
Gunn,
Cyril, run.
I'm going 205.
I love it. All right, everybody. We're almost done here. We've got the main event coming up next, just in time for Monday Night Football. We want to hear a quick word from our sponsors, and then we will break down this awesome main event for you. So sit tight for me here just real quick. They moved all the damn commercials around on me again. Here we go. Welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast, everybody. I am joined by the GOAT Tajik Bey here on Pub Sports Radio. We're talking UFC Vegas 42, and it's main event time. We go dumpster diving for these kind of cards, but the UFC always knows how to light this bad boy up at the end. Max Holloway taking on Yair Rodriguez. It does not get much better than this, folks. This is one hell of a fight. Yair Rodriguez has been gone for several years. We had that whole fiasco with Jeremy Stephens the last time we saw him. Very questionable situation. Max Holloway proving that he is the best boxer in MMA. He is just barely number 2 in the division and arguably could still be the champion if a couple of scorecards had just bounced his way. This is a sick fight. Max Holloway looking to be the ultimate gatekeeper, get one more crack at his old belt. Yair finally trying to become a true contender, maybe get a crack at that title shot himself. And this one is wild from a sports betting perspective because we got Max Holloway minus 650. Minus 650 on Max Holloway. The comeback is plus 450 on Yair Rodriguez. And Tajik, it is well known, I do not like Yair Rodriguez. He's a punk. He's got an attitude. He fouled his opponent, Jeremy Stephens, poked him in the eye, and then chastised him for quitting in that main event. He tries to jump in backstage with a bunch of goons. I mean, I do not like anything about Yair Rodriguez, but I have to respect the way the man fights. He is poetry in motion on the feet. And I think back to that crazy up elbow in the 5th round against the Korean Zombie when he flatlined him with literally 1 second left on the clock. This guy is creative. He hits hard. He's got solid power. He mixes up his game well. He's impressive, and he's really fun to watch. Yair Rodriguez will have a 2-inch reach advantage here in this spot, but Max Holloway is the cardio king. This man puts volume on like nobody's business. He just breaks people with his pace and his pressure over the course of a 15-minute, a 25-minute fight, whatever it is. And honestly, we know Max, no problem, can go 25 minutes. So I think this greatly favors Max Holloway. Yair Rodriguez has limited 25-round experience. We know he's gone once before, but he was losing that fight to the Zombie before he pulled it off at the last second. And I honestly question his heart just a little bit, Tajik. I wonder if Yair Rodriguez is built for the war that someone like Max is going to put him through. But I cannot justify minus 650 in a spot like this. I know Max got sold short in his last fight against Calvin Kattar. We all expected that fight to be very close and competitive, and Max really reminded us who's what in this division. But I think minus 650 might be a little bit much here. How are you attacking the main event on Saturday?
Yeah, just like everybody else, I'm betting Yair.
The line kind of forces you that way, I feel like.
Yeah, or I forced the line. So to me, I understand.
That's a good line to Jeek. I like that.
I joke. I don't influence the lines. And so, but here's the thing. The lines were the line is off, is extremely wide. And I understand Max Holloway. Listen, he is the GOAT, right? He's great. I understand. My problem is that Calvin Kattar win is still is in everybody's heads. He landed like 1,000 shots, but he has throughout his career he's been phenomenal. He's been unstoppable. My problem with betting Max in this fight is that it's going to be a stand-up affair. And standing wise, Yair is actually pretty good. I just don't understand how significantly how Max is going to just outperform him. Yair is going to go out there. He's hungry for the win. He wants to perform well. He wants to do well. Personality-wise, personalities are so different, right? I think he doesn't have much class. He needs to become, he needs to become humble. And so it's tough, right? It's tough to be. So sometimes it's a lot of work, right, for him. That he needs to fine tune mentally, right? I agree with you. What you mentioned, that fight where he eye poked. Who did he eye poke?
Jeremy Stephens.
Jeremy Stephens, yeah. And then he came back and beat Jeremy, no?
That was absolutely. He destroyed him in the rematch, and that was
right.
It left no doubt about it whatsoever. But the problem I take is the personality side of it. When you foul somebody, and Jeremy was very clearly compromised. It was a bad foul. It was not.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah. It was actually. It was very classless. I think
Yes.
and I think he went he went on Bisping for no reason. I mean, that's the guy. I understand that he was. I don't. I mean, he was frustrated. He fought again in front of his home crowd, and he was upset. But at the same time, it just doesn't justify his behavior, right? Not to me, but I have to separate, Yair as a person from Yair as a fighter, and I think standing up, he's actually a decent fighter. And so, and I know that most of the people, MMA community, especially after the last week, being so turbulent, are not gonna openly, pick Yair to win, and I understand that. But if I'm looking into this, I'm not one of them, and I'm gonna pick Yair. I'm actually going to pick Yair. I don't think he stops Max, but I think it's going to be some kind of a close decision, 48-47 for Yair. And I'm going to pick him up to win this fight.
Okay, that is a bold take, Tajik, and I love it. So the one thing that scares me off this one is the significant strikes. The volume for Max is just ridiculous. 7.26 significant strikes per minute, absorbing only 4.58. Yair averages 4.33 significant strikes per minute, absorbing only 3.1. 1-3. Now, the standout fight, the only one that you can really kind of point to say is a bit different, is the Chan Sung Jung fight, where it was a 25-minute war, and he was outstruck 119 significant strikes to 126. And that's the kind of spot that, Max Holloway just put a 400 spot up on Calvin Kattar. I just don't think there's a man alive besides Alexander Volkanovski who can keep pace with Max Holloway when it comes to the significant strikes. And a lot of those are leg kicks. The reason he's able to pull that off is because it's more the legs than it is the strikes. And I know Yair has a much different striking game when compared to the previous opponents of Max Holloway. I'll be honest, Tajik, I think this is a dog or pass spot. You can't bet Max at this price tag. I don't think it's justified. I totally understand the dog bite, and I don't blame you for taking it. I don't know if I'll get to the window there myself on it, but it's very hard to find a way to bet this fight for me, because I don't want to be on the other side of Max Holloway, but I recognize that Yair Rodriguez plus 450 is kind of stupid.
Yeah, and I know there are some comments that I influenced the Vegas, the odds. I influenced the judges. I don't do it. I don't need to do it. I'm very small fish in the pond, so please don't believe any kind of rumors and gossips that are spread around.
The legend of Tajik is just growing.
Yeah, it's just growing. People like gonna tell tomorrow that it's strange. It's unfactual, and it's a fake news. But talking about Yair, I mean, why not? I love Yair in this fight. I'm gonna back him up. The problem with Max is that we look at the stats throughout his career, and it's just phenomenal, right? He strikes everybody. It's the highest stats on every single occasion, but we have to kind of see things, a bit in a vacuum, right? This is one fight where one fighter is going to come against another fighter, and they're going to test their skills. I don't want us to put much weight into Max Holloway going in to assume that he's just outclasses. He might, but then it's just the way the market is overreacting right now is astonishing. But I'm loving it. I mean, please, if you're betting Max, I understand. Again, I said this. He's the best of all time to do it. I'm just gonna judge how Yair performs, and I think he should do better than the odds suggest, and that's why I'm betting Yair this weekend.
And we bet numbers, not fighters, so I completely agree. I understand, Tajik. Thank you so much. I got to give a couple shout outs here. Mike Harvey jumping in with a donation saying, first time here, loving the content. Hopefully it helps the betting this week. And much love, gents. Thank you, Mike. Definitely good luck on all of your betting action. We do our best to bring you the information we can, and then we tell you what we're betting on. Do with that what you will. If you decide to tail us, we'll be in the boat together, win or lose. If you go out on your own, hopefully we gave you some good info. George here saying support the MMA capping community. Content is the key word, not picks, not units. Bet responsibly, especially that last one, George. Thank you very much for the highly intelligent words. We'll continue making the content here for you. Absolutely. So we definitely love and appreciate the support. Make your picks and your selections. If you ride or die, well, like I said, we're losing money on it just like you. So remember that. Never bet more than you can afford to lose. This should be something that you do for fun. And if you take it very seriously, you're probably just here to laugh at the goofy things I say anyway. So thank you all very much for tuning into the show. That's UFC Vegas 42. Tajik, thank you so much for jumping on the show to break this one down with me, my guy. I really appreciate your time. And if there's anything that you want to plug, if you want to shout anything out or let the people know where they can find you, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Clint. I think this show has went exactly as I expected it to be, which is phenomenal, right? And thanks for everybody in the chat, for joining, for putting your inputs. I think it's phenomenal. Really appreciate engagement, great crowd. You can find me on Tajik Bay. I'm available on Twitter only, and I always say this, think twice before you follow me, because if you decide to, there is no unfollow button.
I like that, Tajik. Now, remind me, though, you've got something going on, I believe, with T-shirts out there.
Yeah, T-shirts. I have a Go T-shirts. They are available at bonfire.com/Tajik Bay. It's actually on my Twitter profile. The link is in the description in the profile. You can go out there and order my shirts. And if you do, I give out all my picks. for the rest of 2021 at no cost to you. So if you decide to buy my shirt, to go ahead and do it. It's I think some people in the chat already have bought this. So if you do, that's awesome. But if not, and if you need help or any kind of advice, just reach out to me on Twitter, DM me, and I'll help you out the best way I can. I'm always here for the community. And I appreciate all you guys being here today. And thank you, Clint, again for having me on the show.
I'm a little disappointed, Tajik, because I ordered the shirt. I was going to rock it on the show when you came on and surprise you wearing the T-shirt, and it didn't come in the mail yet. So I got a shirt myself.
I want to make sure it gets deleted. Gets delivered, right? So whenever it gets, let me know. And I hope if you have any feedback. So far, everybody likes it. We're working on it. So far, New Zealand and Australia, it's hard to get to, but I promise for everybody who supports the community from that neck of the wood that USPS will make changes, and we will get those delivered to you guys. I appreciate the support.
There's a lot going on with delays and stuff like that with shipping, so no worries. It'll get here. I'll be sure to tweet out a picture as soon as I get it wearing it. So thank you again, Tajik. That's it, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. If you haven't done it yet, smash that like button on your way out. May your fireball go down smoothly, and may your popcorn be extra buttery on Saturday. Make sure you subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We will be doing free shows for everything all the way through the week. I need to make sure I list everybody off here. Razor Sharp does all the horses. He's got your Gambler's First Glance. You've got Connor Mack, Ian Cameron. They break down all the sports. They were just doing baseball, did a wonderful job with it. I believe they're doing basketball now. You've got my guy, Maxwell Smart, who is the smartest college basketball handicapper I've ever seen in my life. High volume backer or better who's going to be here on Pub. And of course, my guy, Jimmy the Bag, with guests on his shows daily, breaking down every single sport under the sun with a focus especially on his hockey. That's my guy. I learned my love of hockey from Jimmy. And then, of course, the boys with MMA. You'll find us live for all the fights on Saturdays whenever Bellator and PFL go live. Boston Nick, we've got Billy, we've got Zoe, we've got Danny, we've got MMA Locker Room. They're all holding down the house. So make sure you subscribe here and support Pub Sports Radio. We love you guys. Good luck on all your degenerate action, and get out of here. I'm going to go get some Chipotle. Have a great night.